So now I have to book everything, airline, room, everything. Okay, so it's 5 o'clock.
If they have any problems, they're gonna call you when they're there.
I'm sure they will.
That was a nice gift.
Okay, are we ready?
Ready when you are.
All right, sir. All right, it is 5 o'clock. I call this LUTC meeting to order. I will be
Recording in progress.
I will be facilitating this meeting on behalf of Chair Dovey, who joining us online. We also have Council President Linda Kochmar, Deputy Mayor Honda here, and myself, member of the committee, and also Council Member Lydia Asafa Dawson.
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome, Lydia. And then
Thank
we
you.
have Jack Wash is excused. All right. Do we have anything for public comments? No public comments? Okay, we are moving on to committee business. The first item is item A, approval of minutes for June 5th of 2023.
I move approval of the minutes.
I'll second that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. We are now moving on to item B, resolution accepting transportation grant, city center access. Rick, welcome.
Thank you. If I can start the right thing here. There we go. All right. So, thank you and good evening. Here to discuss an authorization to apply for the Transportation Safety Grant Program. So, policy question, should the council authorize staff to submit a grant application for the development of a safety action plan? So what we're proposing is $500,000 project to do a safety action plan. 20% match is required under this program and would be funded from the Capital Improvement Fund, unallocated. As a planning document, there were no projects to be constructed at this point and no operations and maintenance expenses to be incurred. So this is a grant from the Federal Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which created a Safe Streets and Roads for All program. There are two components. The first one is to develop a safety action plan, which then makes you eligible for implementation project grants. So the safety action plan is similar to what we've been doing the last few years for to be eligible for federal safety money administered by WashDOT for the local road safety plans. But this would be quite a bit more robust, and that's why it's a fair amount of money to be looked at. So the summary is that we were looking at a $500,000 project cost. We're asking for $400,000 and a $100,000 match under this program. And we're submitting this to Puget Sound Regional Council as a regional package, which was encouraged by Federal Highway Administration. So with that, the mayor's recommendation, options considered is to approve the proposed grant application, or 2, do not approve it and provide direction to staff. Mayor recommends option 1. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Rick, I do have a question. I'm a little bit confused. I'm sorry about this, but on my package, under item B, it says something about a $30 million.
Okay, I'm sorry, I went to the first one incorrect. I went in the wrong order.
Chair, this is item C, so if you want on the agenda, we can either go back and do the presentation for B, or if you want to take them out of order, we could. This is item C on your agenda that Rick just went through.
Oh, okay. So if I want to take it out of order, can I go ahead and do that now, or?
Well, I really think you should
Yep.
take it in order because first you have to authorize it before you can accept it.
No, it's two different grants.
It's two different things.
Okay.
Why don't I make the motion that I move to forward the proposed grant application to the July 18th, 2023 consent agenda for approval.
Okay,
It's entirely appropriate if you want to take it out of order, which is what we're doing with this motion.
okay, so we have a motion, and I'm gonna go ahead and second that. All in favor, please say aye.
I have a
I'm
question.
sorry.
Aye.
I do have a
Jack,
question.
hang on a second. Deputy Mayor has a question.
Rick, if the funding doesn't come through, then what happens?
At this point, nothing. We would probably be looking at either funding something scaled down ourselves or wait until the next call for projects under that program.
Okay, thank you.
And
Go ahead.
so Rick, could you describe what the project is covering so the people who are listening in will understand?
Right. So a safety action plan is intended to identify projects to apply for those implementation grants based on collision history, relative risks associated with different types of roadways, and also focusing on, as part of the grant application stipulates that we would be also focusing on improving projects in areas that are heavily impacted by past actions that result in inequitable treatment of
Sure.
roadways.
But under the background information, it describes the projects, which is to modify intersections of I-5 south at 320th.
Okay, that's the next item. I'm sorry, I got them backwards.
We're on item C.
We are on C.
I'm confused.
I know.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No, not on item C.
Okay, so for the record, we are voting on item C, authorization to apply for transportation safety grant. We have a motion and the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I have a question still. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Sorry, I couldn't see you, Lydia.
Yeah, no worries. So the matching fund, is it cash value, or can we work on a project that is in our city? Would that qualify? Or
So-
how does that work?
So this would be entirely within city streets is where it would be applied to. If you're asking how much could be in-kind labor,
Yeah,
okay, so yeah, mostly due to workload, we propose that the lion's share of the work would be done by consultants. And so we'd be just managing the grant and the project itself.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I think we're good.
I think we're good.
All right, we did vote, right? I don't have to call another vote. We have the vote.
Yeah, I don't think you've actually voted yet.
We haven't voted yet.
Yeah, Chair, I don't think, acting chair, I don't believe your vote has been recorded yet, so let's call a vote again.
Okay, so item C, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 2-0. Thank you. Now we on item B.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I got those backwards.
That's all right.
All right, so city center access. So the policy question is, should the council authorize the mayor to execute a local agency agreement with Washington State Department of Transportation to accept $30 million for the design and right-of-way acquisition for the city center access project? So the project was included in the city's 2023 legislative agenda, and the legislature awarded us $30 million for that design and right-of-way acquisition for the first phase of the project. No matching funds are required, and no additional maintenance funds will be required for ongoing maintenance at this time. So due to the city's efforts in lobbying the state legislature instructed WashDOT to award the city the $30 million for the project. It would fund the design and right-of-way acquisition for modifying the Interstate I-5 and South 320th interchange, adding access from I-5 to South 324th Street, widen and extend 324th Street from Highway 99 to Weyerhaeuser Way, provide a multi-use path along 324th on this segment, and then also on 23rd from 324th up to 320th, and widen Highway 99 at 324th to add additional left turn lanes. So in summary, we're looking at $30 million grant fund, no required match, and this we're anticipating would be spent through 2029. And that is again for just design and right-of-way. With that, the mayor's recommendation, options considered, is to approve the proposed resolution or do not and provide direction to staff, and the mayor recommends option 1. So with that, happy to answer any questions on item B.
Thank you. We have Deputy Mayor.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
So the total project to be funded, it would be how much to do the construction and,
So we've broken it out into phases to make it more easily fundable. The first phase would construct the ramps to and from I-5 southbound and build that segment of 324th to connect to 23rd, and then put in the left turn lanes at 99 and 324th. We're also pursuing a separate grant that would fund the construction of the multi-use path along 324th and up 23rd to the transit center. So that would be phase 1. Phase 2, and that phase 1, we're estimating a little over $100 million of construction funds. The next phase would be to construct the bridge for 324th across I-5 and reconfigure the northbound ramps to serve that, and then extend 324th or the rest of the way to Weyerhaeuser Way. The last phase would be to make some minor modifications to 320th to complete an HOV lane system from Pack Highway out to Military Road.
and how long, if everything fell just in the right place and everything came through, how long will this take to complete?
Well, so if we were able to get construction funds, we're probably looking about 3 years worth of construction for the first phase. And I'm kind of speculating, this is not my area of expertise, but the big expense there is the wall where the southbound off-ramp starts for 320th, which is right under the overpass 317th. That big wall may need to be modified. There'll be a process where we ask WashDOT and Federal Highways to approve a modification to minimize the impacts of the wall, but that's one of the reasons that phase is rather expensive. Anyway, so there's some technicalities, and so depending on how complex that wall is, the construction may take longer. And then if we had the construction funds after that, that's also probably the next phase. Phase 2 is about another 100,000 or 100 million, I'm sorry. And that would probably be a similar construction time frame, say 3 years, assuming the money all lined up perfectly. And then the last phase would probably involve replacing the I-5 overpass on 320th. It's approaching its design life, and I don't think it's been seismically retrofitted, so at the very least it'll be a pretty significant renovation, but also needs to be widened to accommodate the HOV lanes and a real sidewalk on the north side.
All right, thank you.
Council President.
Thank you. So thank you for explaining the projects. I appreciate that. I was into that. So the $30 million, is that all coming through the Puget Sound Regional Council?
No, it's direct from WashDOT.
Okay, so it's Department of Transportation.
Yes.
So we need 100 million. So where's the rest going to come from?
Well, that's going to depend on either future lobbying, actually probably will depend on future lobbying efforts. At the point of construction, WashDOT has to manage the project. And so essentially, we'd be getting the project in front of the legislature to get it funded, and then basically the legislature would be requiring WashDOT to construct it with that funding.
Well, they're not going to do, they have to come up with the monies. Isn't that something we would need to go to the federal government for, asking for the additional funds?
So there may be opportunities to go after federal earmarks for that, or there may be upcoming grant opportunities to pursue that. But you're typically not seeing existing grant programs throwing out that much money. And so a lot of times you'll see the feds will pitch in some and the state will make up the difference. And in this case, because it's a locally sponsored project, that they may ask us to contribute as well.
So so it's basically 6 years, you're saying, before we'll be able to remove the 320th interchange right now?
Best case scenario, well, we're going to have to get through the design and environmental process first. You know, we've gotten the preliminary approval and we're in the environmental process right now. So we'll be coming back to you as soon as we get that. And the big hang up there is getting Fish and Wildlife to review it. And that's taking anywhere from a year or more to get through that process to complete the environmental process. Once we get through that, then we'll be finalizing the design and acquiring the right-of-way.
Is that because they're interested in the fish culverts?
That's a big component of it, yes.
Well, of course, there aren't any fish culverts right there, but that doesn't seem to matter, probably.
Well,
Island
there are
Park is near
culverts
there.
that have been identified as
Okay.
needing replacement for fish.
Well, never saw a fish in a culvert yet, but I know how it works. So are we going to have one-way streets out of all of this that are going to,
We are not proposing that.
okay, just curious. Wow. Thank you very much.
Jack and Lydia, do you have any questions?
No, I
my
don't.
only-
Thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, my only comment is congratulations on getting us this far where we can actually start a project with $30 million. That's a huge monumental undertaking. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Jack, do you want to make a motion or you
Yeah,
want me to make a
I
motion?
will.
Oh, okay.
I move to forward the proposed resolution to the July 18th, 2023 consent agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, please.
What will you be starting on first?
So like I said, we're in the midst of the environmental process, so we're going to complete that. And once we get the basic footprint nailed down through that process, then we can get into final design.
But you don't know which part of the whole design you'd start with first?
We're going to be starting with that phase one, which is the southbound ramps and the construction of 324th to the west of I-5, and the multi-use path and the additional left turn lanes at 99 and 324th.
Thanks.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to item D, ordinance renewing Lake Management District Number 1 for Still Lake and setting a September 19, 2023 public hearing on the assessment roll for the district. Dan, welcome.
Thanks. How's everyone doing? I'm Dan Sternkoff. I'm with the Public Works Department, Environmental Services Division, and like you were mentioning, this is a presentation focusing on a resolution, or on an ordinance setting a public hearing on an assessment rule for the Steel Lake Management District. So real quick, this is just what we've been up to so far. The main takeaways here were that resolution was passed on April 18th, setting a public hearing on the renewal, and then during the June 6th council meeting, another resolution was adopted renewing the LMD and calling for a vote of affected property owners, and those ballots were sent out the day after the council meeting, and then we tallied them on June 27th, and the results show that there was a simple majority in favor of renewing the Lake Management District. And so, just getting into the assessment and calculation and payment and everything, they're basically calculated by taking the property type and then multiplying that by the rate. So it's pretty straightforward, and below is the timeline there on how those assessments will occur. City of Federal Way staff will email the assessments to King County, and the King County will then send those to the property owners, and then the property owners submit their payment back to King County, and then King County transfers it to the City of Federal Way. We have an account specifically for Steel Lake Management District, so we're the ones in charge of that. Here's a map of the lake with the property types. It just shows basically it's mainly single family, vacant, multifamily, and park space. This is also kind of breaking down the specifics of it. It shows the amount of different types of properties there and the revenue that they'll generate. In total, we're estimating that it'll be, well, not estimating, but it's going to be $15,232. So the next steps are just in complying with revised Code of Washington. We're going to be setting a city council public hearing on this September 19th council, and it'll just contain the standard things, staff presentation and whatnot, citizen comment. Here's just another timeline about the public notice side of things. We'll be sending letters to the property owners on August 11th, as well as sharing 2 public notices that'll be published in the Mirror. And then, again, there's that city council public hearing on September 19th. And this just kind of gets into what the public notice will contain. This is all just in compliance with the RCW there, just the total amount, the public hearing date, the different documents for review, how to file an objection, and individual assessment amount will get mailed to all the property owners. So the next steps are there'll be a first reading of this ordinance at the July 18th City Council meeting, and then there'll be a second reading at the August 8th meeting, and then that will be the adoption of the ordinance if it all gets voted for and everything. Then there'll be that public hearing on the 19th of September with a resolution confirming and approving the assessment roll. Continuing, we'll go with another ordinance about the time of payment and a resolution creating the advisory committee. That'll have 2 readings, and then all the way at the end of December, there'll be an appointment of the advisory committee there. And yeah, so that was pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Can you go back to the slide where you talk about the assessments and how many? Yeah.
This one?
So the vacant property, is that, I see on the map in the packet, it looks like there might be 2 single-family homes that are vacant, and then a large parcel of land. Is that what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, that the lines, the ones with like the kind of light
Right.
off-white with the orange, and yeah, those are all vacant. And so that is a really large vacant parcel, the one on the northwest
So
side.
the very large parcel of property is not developed,
Yeah.
and that turns out to 9 units. How do you come up to that with that?
Oh, well, there's actually a lot more than 9 units. So, yeah, they're kind of small. Like, just looking at the map, it's kind of hard to tell, but some of them are like extremely thin lines right next to a property. Like, there's some property owners that have 2 vacant parcels that they own. And so it's kind of hard to tell on this map, but if you really zoom in, there are 9 parcels on this map here.
So
vacant parcels.
if the pieces of property that are vacant next to single-family homes, the two that I'm looking at, are those undeveloped land that the property owner is not going to develop? Is that why they pay less?
Yeah, I think it's, like, the idea is, basically, if it's vacant, there's just less potential for causing pollution, because the whole idea of the lake management district is from a water quality standpoint, and so they identify that a single-family home is gonna have more potential to discharge into the lake, whereas a vacant property would have a lower chance of doing that, and that's why the assessments are lower,
So the vacant properties equal undeveloped properties?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have questions for that? Nope. Jack, you want to make a motion?
Yep, I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the first reading on the July 18th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
And now we are moving on to item E, former Bridges Barn demolition project approval award. John, welcome.
Good evening, Council, Chair. I'm here to present to you this evening the former Bridges Barn demolition project, here for approval to award. On June 23rd, we received 5 bids, with the lowest responsible bidder being Maroney Construction Incorporated. This is the project location. This is north of 373rd and the Hylebus Creek area there. Project budget, total available revenue is about $133,500, and the total estimated expenditures equals the same. Options considered tonight are options 1 and options 2. Mayor recommends option number 1. Sorry.
Thank you. I don't see any,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Of course. Do you have any photos of what this looks like? Is there any value in the wood, or is there any value in it at all?
It's really, for a barn, it's in decent shape. It really is. We've in the specifications of the project, we do encourage the contractor to recycle as much product as possible, but shop stops short of requiring it.
And how old is the structure?
That's a great question. EJ, do you happen to know how?
It's pretty old.
Pretty old could be 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's more than 20.
100?
I don't know if it's 100, but it's based on the foundation typology. It's probably from the 40s or 50s.
Okay. You know, because I know some people actually look for wood from barns and that
Right,
age,
even
so.
converting them into single families and things, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, right now, it's sometimes used as storage for stolen vehicles and such, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Council President.
I'm just wondering where this is located again?
It is, if you, down Pacific Highway to 373rd, where we're gonna put the new roundabout, go east from there, down as you cross the 2 bridges, the Hylebus, start climbing the hill, and then head north on the first main road there. It's 8th Avenue South.
Yeah, and that's still within the city limits?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, no more questions.
Well, it's a shame we have to take it down, but I will move to forward option 1 to the July 18th, 2023 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that, Jack. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We passed this item 2-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we are moving on to item F, South 288th Street Road Diet Project Bid Award. Jonathan, right?
Yes, Jonathan Strong.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right. So this is for the South 288th Road Diet Phase 1 project to award. Our question today is, should we award the lowest responsible bidder? This is located on the first phase of 288th project. So this is from just east of Military all the way to our borders, right around 34th. We received 7 bids on June 23rd. The lowest responsive bidder was Icon Materials for $910,899.50. Our total revenue for this project is $1.45 million, and our total estimate is $1.345 million. These are our options to award the project to Icon, or to reject it and give us direction. Are there any questions?
Well, thank you. Council President?
Well, I'm familiar with this, and I know a lot of people who are complaining about the fact that the bike lanes are being painted on the road. What else is being done?
So we're reducing the road from 4 lanes to going both ways to 3 lanes and bike lanes, with the middle lane being a 2, they can turn from each way.
Yeah.
And then we're also adding rapid flashing beacons for safety for pedestrians to walk, the rectangular rapid flashing beacons.
Yeah, and I know that we're being required to do this, but who's requiring it?
I don't believe it's a requirement. We're doing it for the safety because there was multiple accidents over the last 5 years, and there was a study on it.
Okay.
And it just seems like a much safer approach for us to do.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, you have questions? No? Okay, I don't see any questions.
Okay.
Okay. I move to forward option 1 to the July 18th, 2023 consent agenda for approval.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Have a good night.
Good night. We are moving on to item G, authorization to accept King County Flood Reduction Grant. Ken?
Hello, good evening. Let's see. So I'm Ken Smith with the Public Works Department. I'm here for the authorization to accept King County Flood Reduction Grant. So a little background on location. This is in support of the Cold Creek Culvert removal and restoration for we're looking at almost the entire stream that there's some option for work. This specific grant is related to work next to South Dash Point Road on what's labeled Reach 2 and Reach 1. The exact area is not defined yet. Some background for the funding. We have total available of $3.5 million due to grant and the project, and then this phase 1 is estimated at 1.4. The options considered: 1, authorize to accept the grant, or 2, do not authorize, and the mayor recommends option 1.
Thank you.
Answer any questions?
Any questions? Seeing none.
Okay. I move to forward the proposed option 1 to the July 18th, 2023 consent agenda for approval.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Wow, we moving on. Ken, you have next one.
I'm here again. Okay. Oh, let's see. I need to- Didn't want to do that. So again, Kent Smith with the Public Works Department, here for updates on sound transit activities within the City Federal Way. So for north of 317th, still working on storm drainage, landscaping, plinths, noise walls, systems duct bank, ballast installation, OCS installation and testing, MSE wall construction, and rail delivery and installation is also ongoing. For the city center, they're continuing their phase closure for 23rd Avenue South, working on the roadway primarily right now. So phase 1 continues for the next few weeks with the expectation to move to phase, the next phase in July, which will move traffic to still single direction on 23rd Avenue, but will shift onto some new sections of roadway. They're still working on sewer, water, and utility work on 317th. Paving and concrete roadway work for 23rd and 317th has started. I believe they've done some of the concrete road work on 23rd and then just the paving so far for 317th. Station work is ongoing, framing, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, and some of the level glass work is still ongoing. And then they're looking to do the last few pours for level 5 of the garage and the end of line facility. Still working on some roofing and exterior and interior walls. As far as operations and maintenance facility south, no updates from the last meeting. We're just continuing to work with staff from Sound Transit on little individual design elements. And then lastly, for Tacoma Dome Link Extension, I don't have any updates. Similar thing, we're working with them periodically for some individual design elements. And then I will answer any questions.
Well, thank you for the update. Does anybody have questions? You get off easy.
Actually, I have one.
Oh, actually, hang on. Go ahead.
The road in front where McDonald's is and the train station,
Yes,
is that 23rd?
correct.
The work that they're doing, trains won't be on that road, is that correct? Because it looked like, I was looking at their, I was stopped at the stoplight there recently, and it looked like they were putting some kind of rail into the road.
So that's the form work for building the concrete road. So
okay.
it kind of looks like rails, but no, no trains will be at road grade. They'll all be elevated.
Okay, so they're just repairing the road to what it was before they tore it up.
Essentially, yeah, they're building a new road section, so it's going from an asphalt roadway to a concrete roadway, and the construction is a little bit different to put it in there, but yeah, they're using these forms to set
Okay, all right,
concrete
thank you.
panels.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks.
All right, we are moving on to the last
I have
item.
a question.
Oh, Lydia, sorry. I didn't see your
No
hand.
worries.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's up. Any word on the art installation?
I met with the, I don't want to, the artwork team for Sound Transit, and they had no updates for me. So they specifically said, we do not have any updates for you, so no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, we are moving on to the last item, ordinance for multi-family tax exemption expansion to community business zone. Keith, welcome.
Thank you. 8th item, and we're not even 40 minutes in. I'll
Yeah.
try and keep us to our 4.5 minute average here. So,
While we wait, I'm going to challenge Chair Dovey to beat my record.
Well, you
This
know,
is the most effective and efficient LUTC meeting that I can remember. So try to beat that, Jack.
well, you are the master. I'll just let you teach me.
We just need both jacks gone, that's all.
Yeah, both of us would be.
Oh, Lydia.
wow.
I'm getting pretty good at making the motion. How's that?
You are, yeah.
You are.
Now, if we could get Keith to work the operating, there it is.
You know, let me get started because it's getting super awkward in here.
Yeah, Keith, you know, you're the last thing before
Do you need
We
help,
go
Keith?
home,
Because,
right?
you know,
No.
I'm really talented. in-
No, I
No?
just had to find it, sorry. Good evening, Interim Chair Tran, Council Committee Member Dovey from the Midwest, Council President Kochmar, Deputy Mayor Honda, and Council Member Asefa Dawson. So this evening, we're going to talk about a proposed ordinance to the city code relating to multifamily tax exemption. So the policy question in front of the City Council is, should the City Council amend Title III to expand the multifamily tax exemption to the community business or BC zone? Currently, under City Code, the residential target area is only city center core and city center frame zones. So this is part of the analysis done by Heartland, and they came up with 9 recommendations to the city. And the other 8 you guys have already passed through previous code amendments, but because this one was in Title III and not Title 19, it kind of ended up running separate because of different noticing requirements. We did receive one public comment, and it was from an applicant currently doing business in the city, and they requested that we change our code in terms of the timing where an applicant needs to register for this tax exemption. Right now, our code reads that they need to do it either by the time they pull their building permit or the time that they get their land use permit, whichever happens first. And the gentleman that I spoke with asked if we could change it to later in the process. So I looked at some different cities. Kent has it at issuance of building permit. Issaquah, Renton, Bothell, and Redmond are with the issuance of the first building permit, but they give the director the authority to deviate from that. Bellevue is 60 days following building permit, but again, with director flexibility. And then Kirkland and Auburn say anytime prior to certificate of occupancy. So after having looked at this and chatting with the city attorney a little bit about this, I am open to changing it to be more flexible for the developer, and I would suggest that we follow Kirkland and Auburn's approach, because that's basically at the last opportunity. But that would be done through a subsequent ordinance that's not contained in the ordinance in front of you, and it's because that comment came in so late, we didn't notice it to change the timing, just to expand it to the BC zone. So if the council feels like that is a good thing to do, we would bring forward a future ordinance that would allow us to talk about that a little bit further. Yes. The mayor's recommendation is to approve, is to hold the hearing on the 19th and then approve option 1, which is the ordinance as proposed, to expand our multifamily tax exemption to the BC zone. And with that, I am beyond done and am here for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Keith.
Hey, I have one question, Keith.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that we should make it flexible, just like Auburn and what was the other one, Issaquah, I think.
Kirkland.
On that, Kirkland. But how long is that going to take? Isn't time of the essence for some of these developers? I mean, well, we only have one developer that it will really affect right now. How long is that going to take?
So that's obviously, I'd have to work with the city attorney on getting an ordinance drafted and reviewed and in front of this committee. My guess is we could have that done by September, and then that would make the ordinance could be approved by the first meeting in October.
Okay. And then for that one applicant, would you think it makes sense? Does that, I mean, that's just the way it is, I guess.
So that applicant, so I talked to him, about this, and he's, if he feels like the city is willing to do that, that's a big enough incentive for him to delay occupancy that he would wait for that ordinance to be, to go through the council process. So, I don't know how close they are. I believe that they were hoping to get maybe the first occupancies in August, but I'm not sure they're that far along. So that might mean a couple month delay for them to hold until the ordinance gets adopted.
Okay. Well, that's their choice. Okay, perfect.
What developer are you talking about?
First and 348th.
And they're close enough to put people in there?
They think they're within a few months of being ready for occupancy. I know. I mean, I've driven by it. It's kind of hard to tell. It's kind of gone up very fast, but I don't know if they're truly that close or not, but they think they are.
Okay.
Lydia, I saw your hand earlier. You still have questions?
No, Jack touched on it for me, so thank you.
All right, thank you. We are ready to vote.
Okay, so I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the public hearing in first reading on July 18th, 2023.
I'll second that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. So that's conclude our regular agenda for today's meeting. Our future meeting will be August 7th, 2023 at 5 p.m. in this room. And with that, we end the meeting at 46 minutes.
Yay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.